Hey guys, in this video we're going to be changing the oil in the Humvee. So to start off with, we're going to talk about the oil. The oil I like to use in all my diesel engines is Shell Rotella T6 15W40. This is full synthetic oil. There's a common misconception that synthetic oil actually causes leaks. It doesn't, it merely reveals them. Synthetic oil can leak on older seals that normally won't leak using conventional oil. Conventional oil actually swells the rubber seals at a higher rate than synthetic oil and prevents them from leaking. So on an older Humvee, I'd probably recommend using conventional oil like Rotella T3 15W40, just any high quality conventional oil. On newer Humvees with good seals on the engine, I'd definitely recommend running full synthetic though. Another thing, I am using a high quality oil filter. The one I'm using is a K&N HP3002. Later on in the video, I show you all the cross-reference numbers for all the other oil filters, so you could use whatever you want. And then also the oil pan drain bolt. The torque of that bolt is between 20 and 27 foot-pounds. So getting that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start changing the oil. Now normally just before an oil change, I like to warm up the engine. This allows the oil to actually flow a little bit faster, and I'm not sure if it actually really does anything, it's just what I like to do. So right now we are going to go ahead and just warm up the engine for a minute or so.
Alright, so crawling underneath the truck, right here is the oil pan. This is the driver's side right here. So we have the oil drain bolt. This is a 9/16 inch bolt. And then right about here, we have the oil filter. So right here I have my little oil catch container. Open it up and position it just a little bit away from the actual drain plug for the oil pan. So now we are going to loosen this. Let me just move this a little bit too. And careful, because this will be somewhat hot. And I like to put a little bit of pressure holding it in there. Okay, and right now it's completely, all the threads are off, and it's just the pressure of my finger holding it on there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just release it. And that is pretty, it looks somewhat fresh. It's not super dark yet. Diesel oil gets dark really fast just because of all the carbon, but this isn't that bad. It does smell old though. I don't know if you've ever smelled old oil, but it smells pretty old. But it looks a little bit runny too. And the little pan right here is catching most of it, but the reason why I put this tarp down is to get any splashes or anything. I don't want this going on my driveway. Okay, well somebody torqued the oil filter to like 100 foot-pounds, but that's okay. We have this tool. It is an oil filter removal tool, and that is what I used. That's what I used on this. So now it should be very easy to come off. Wrong way. There we go. So we have the little catch pan underneath here. We're gonna just loosen up a little bit and let some of it drain out like it is, so we don't make an enormous mess. Okay, now we were going to let it sit right here and just drain. So in the last video I talked about what filter I'm using. I'm going with the K&N. It is, the filter number is HP3002. But any high quality filter will do. Usually if I don't go with the K&N filter, I will use a Mobile 1. And then on the back of this, it actually shows all the cross-reference numbers. So, go ahead and take this out.
Pretty much every single oil change I've ever done, I have filled up the oil filter with oil or tried to fill it up as much as possible with oil before installing it. And most of the people I know that work on their own vehicles do it the same too. Just recently I read an article talking about how bad that is to do. And the reasoning behind that is whenever you're pouring oil into the oil filter, you could be introducing contamination past the filtration part of the oil filter. So that contamination will end up going through your bearings, possibly causing premature wear. Even though the oil looks clean, it could possibly be like a little tiny speck of dust or just anything. So it's a bad practice to do. I'm definitely not going to be doing that anymore. So the only thing you'll really need to do is lube up the little O-ring seal that is on the mating surface of the oil filter. I'll usually just get a little bit of oil on my finger and then wipe it around there. Now we're going to crawl back underneath the truck over to the oil filter location, and we're going to take a look at the plate that the oil filter screws onto. Just going to make sure that there's no contamination, wipe anything off if there is, and then we're going to go ahead and install the oil filter.
Just spin it on. There we go. So now it's on there hand tight. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is just take a little rag in my hand, because there is oil all over this thing, and just give it a couple more spins. Again, you don't want this too tight, just hand tight. All right, that feels good. It's not going anywhere. As you can see, there is a little bit of drippage just from when I was draining it and putting the new one on. So we're gonna go ahead and wipe all this down. We don't want any drips on the driveway or any leaks anywhere. You really want to clean everything up so that if there is a leak, you'll be able to see it and not just think that it is just from it dripping out when you drained the oil.
So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the drain plug. On the tip of the drain plug there is a small magnet, and what that magnet does is it will collect any metallic dust or metallic shavings that might be in your oil. It doesn't collect all of them, but it kind of gives you a little sample. So I use this as a indication of the health of my engine. So I will take the drain plug out, wipe it on a clean little tissue so I could closely inspect the anything that came off of the magnet and just kind of see what's going on. So obviously if you have a really worn out engine, there's most likely going to be a lot more metallic shavings or this metallic dust almost collecting on the magnet. So just take a good look at that and kind of give you an indication of how good your engine is. These drain plugs have a oil tight seal or crush washer that goes underneath the head of the bolt. What this crush washer or seal does is it creates an oil tight seal between the bolt head and the actual oil pan whenever the bolt is torqued down, so it doesn't allow any oil to drip out. It is good practice to actually change out these seals every single time you change the oil. What I normally do is I will take the bolt over to an auto parts store and look for one that would fit. I usually get the copper ones. The normal seal that is on these Humvees is plastic, and most of the time that I change oil on these for the first time, the plastic seal is totally cracked. So I think it's a good idea to change this out and make sure you don't have any leaks.
Go ahead and wipe off the little bit of extra oil and then reinstall the drain plug.
Like I said in the beginning of the video, the torque spec for the drain plug is between 20 and 27 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, I would highly recommend that you get one, especially when working on your Humvee. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world, and I'll show you guys a safe way to tighten down this bolt and make sure you don't strip it out.
Just tighten it by hand like this with the palm of your hand kind of close to the actual socket. It prevents you from putting too much torque on it. And then maybe I'll put just one snug turn, like a little tiny turn like that. And then that is good.
Now that we have the drain plug torqued down and the filter screwed on, we're going to go ahead and fill up the system with oil. This is a 6.5 diesel in here, so it requires 8 quarts or 7.6 liters of oil. And these oil containers come in 1 gallon jugs, so that is just about 2 gallons. So I'm going to give you guys a quick tip on how to pour your oil if you don't have a funnel. So normally, whenever you're pouring something, you might just tip it over like this. But if you actually put the bottle on its side when pouring, it won't form any air bubbles, so you won't have that like glugging effect that is oftentimes hard to control, and that's what causes most of the spillage. Going around to the driver's side, I'm going to check out the dipstick. Dipstick looks pretty good. The oil is slightly over the full line, which is expected because the oil has not gone through the oil filter yet, so the oil filter is completely empty. Just going to go underneath and take a look and make sure there's no leaks or anything, and then we're going to go ahead and start her up. Now that I know the oil level is all good and there's no leaks, what I like to do is I will pull the power wires going to the injection pump and then crank the engine over a little bit. And what this does is it allows the oil to start flowing, allows the oil filter to fill up a little bit, and basically just allows it to build up some oil pressure without it actually running. So the injection pump is located just behind the oil fill neck, and it is in between the 2 cylinder heads. So I'm just going to pull the power wires off this, crank it over a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and plug them back in.
All right, so I saw that oil pressure go up just a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and plug these back in. Okay. Check again for any leaks. All right. Now we are going to go ahead and fire her up. We're going to check the oil pressure and also check again for any leaks after it's running.
After letting the engine run for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, let it sit for a minute or two, and then go ahead and check the dipstick one more time. And then if that's all good, I'm just going to go underneath, make sure there's no more leaks, and wipe off anything that might have got some oil on it underneath, and then you're good to go. That's it for this one, guys. That is the whole process of changing your oil. Hope this helped. The next video, we're probably going to be doing the power steering flush or the geared hubs. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Make sure this doesn't go in the Humvee. He was just coming over to check out what I was doing.